Okay, hey everybody. I just want to make a I just want to track my progress and show you basically what I'm doing step by step. I'm approaching a new language right now, and I just want to document this for the world step by step. Maybe some of you will like this. Maybe you'll think that I'm crazy. Who knows? Basically, I am using ChatGPT, little pieces of paper, okay, very cheap, and Google Translate to learn a new language. In this case, it will be my fourth language. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Robert Huey. I begun learning new languages about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. My mother language is obviously English. Fairly clearly have an American accent. I moved to Brazil, and at that time, I was actually learning French because my goal, my dream, was to go live in France, near the battlefields of the First World War, specifically, and somewhere pretty early along in my time living in Brazil, I said, I live in Brazil. Nobody speaks French here, maybe a couple people. In fact, the small town where I lived in Brazil, it's just called Americana. Um, the number of English speakers was also very low as well. So, as you might imagine, me living there, I'm like, I can't talk to people. Even like the friendships I made, I was only able to have very rudimentary conversations with them. So I began to learn Portuguese. Seems obvious, right? Well, at first I was actually resistant to that idea. I told myself, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. All right. I was dead set on learning French. And you may be asking yourself, well, Robert Huey, do you speak French today? No, I do not. I speak English, I speak Portuguese very fluently. I also speak pretty darn good Spanish. So, meanwhile, I live in Mexico right now, by the way. I am getting back into studying aggressively Spanish because I already speak a well enough Spanish, more than well enough Spanish to live, have good, meaningful conversations, but I want to polish it up a little bit. But while I'm doing that, I'm also getting back into Greek learning. I want to speak Greek. And I thought, you know what? I might as well document my process, my progress from day one of starting a new language to basically step by step, uh, a little bit at a time every day, and just kind of show my mindset, what I'm doing. So as I said, I am using ChatGPT. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, can you really trust the internet AI to lead you in the right direction? I mean, I would say 95%. Yeah, but I do have a friend that's kind of helping me out. Whenever I have a question, I will ask that friend. But so far it's been pretty spot on. So something that's been a little bit brain bending for me. Other English speakers will probably identify with me on this, especially if you're learning Spanish or Greek. A lot of the verbs are the opposite of what they seem. So, like, I like in Spanish and Greek, you don't say I like it. You basically literally say it likes me. So, me gusta, or they like me, les gusto. In Portuguese, it doesn't work that way. You say I like, and then the verb conjugates to you. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that, but some of these verb forms that confuse you a little bit, I actually recommend diving into those head first. So I'll make another video slash podcast where I kind of dive in a little bit more to my theory, my process behind things. But really, the theory and the process is there's no theory and there's no process. Just dive in. Okay. Number one, do not start with the alphabet. Don't learn the names of the alphabet. Don't worry about that shit. Numbers are a little more important because living your life, uh, talking about money, asking for things at the market, like you're gonna need numbers. You need to be like, I want five out of avocados, you know? Uh, so do numbers, but perhaps not even initially. I actually recommend you go into ChatGPT. First step, number one, go into ChatGPT, ask it, I speak XYZ language. Because I'm speaking to you in English right now, I'm going to just assume you speak English and that your language, number one, will be English. That is the language that you are operating into learning language. Number two, your target language. In my case, I'm actually using Spanish as my language number one to further reinforce that while learning Greek on the flip side. And now, why do I say the flip side? That's because the heart and soul of what I do is flashcards. And what app should I use for flashcards? No app at all. Don't get an app. There's a lot of cool apps out there, and maybe the only situation in which I might consider an app is that I go traveling and I don't want to take my little pieces of paper with me, but frankly, this doesn't take up that much space. These cards, I actually bought them, I think, on Amazon, and you can get them at Walmart in the United States. They're called Mindology. But if you just get on Amazon and you just search for flashcards, get the smaller ones. Or worst case scenario, you live in a country or a place where you just can't get little cards. Buy full size note cards, cut them in 4/4, done. Or even two halves, so you get a longer card. I like them to be smaller because I can take them with me places. And in my spare time, if I'm on the bus, if I'm on the airplane, those moments where you would normally be like, let's go derp out on social media or play a game for 20 minutes, you could be practicing your English, your language. So the heart and soul is the flashcard. Now, why paper? Why don't I use an app? A, less screen time is going to be better for everybody, right? It's going to be healthier for you, better for your eyeballs, get you off of that phone. Uh, Not to mention, you look you look a lot cooler like thumbing through some cards than just staring at your phone, even if you're doing cool shit on your phone. Um, that doesn't really matter. It might, but it's definitely a conversation starter. But the main reason, yes, keeping you off your phone, less screen time, less distractions on your phone, notifications coming in. That's obviously a great plus. But the main reason is that you are working all four skills at the same time. This is why when some people will tell me, like, oh, I can like listen, but I can't speak very well, or I can read, but it's hard to write. I kind of don't get that. That almost doesn't make sense to me. I do understand the listening aspect because if you learn Spanish, for example, and you go around to different regions, different countries, they're going to have different freaking accents. An accent that I struggle with badly is the Dominican accent. They talk freaking crazy. And all my Dominicans out there, you know what I'm talking about. You people talk crazy. Love you. Love you. Actually, it's a beautiful accent, but it's very, it's difficult if you're learning Mexican Spanish or like European Spanish. But anyway, so working on the flashcards, you are actually simultaneously working four skills at once. What are those four skills? Where there's listening, pronunciation, there's writing, and there's reading. You're doing all four of those at once because not only are you writing each card individually out manually and thus memorizing stuff while you do that, which is better than typing. The act of writing is very deeply intrinsically tied into the human brain from centuries of the human race writing or maybe chiseling words and hieroglyphs. So you're writing, you're taking that time, you're learning that, already memorizing stuff immediately upon doing so. You're also, I recommend when you're actually using the cards, you are saying the things out loud. Maybe not in your mother tongue or your language number one, the language that you're using. In this case, my language one is going to be Spanish most of the time. Although if it's something I struggle with in Spanish, I went ahead and I used Portuguese as my language one, which means your dominant language that you're already using, you're proficient in. If you're in a classroom setting, for example, the class is in your language one. And then on the back, you are going to say aloud the thing. So in this case, posilene. That means what's your name? Yeah, ¿cómo te llamas? Posilene. So you are saying it aloud. While saying it, you're listening to yourself. So it's pronunciation and listening simultaneously, and you're reading, and you wrote it. Think about that. Think about that. Don't even, I would say, don't even try to learn a thing. If you're studying to be a doctor and you're learning a bunch of Latin terms, the medulla oblongata, you're probably using flashcards. I recommend doing so at all times in the language until you get to a certain point where you can pick up a little wordy poo or two and you pick up that new word and immediately it will stick. Sometimes it won't. It'll roll off and you'll forget it. But a lot of times, once you get to a certain point, you'll no longer need to use flashcards as aggressively. You might still want to do it when you're highly proficient in a language. But in the beginning, flashcards, ladies and gentlemen, listen to that beautiful sound. I love it. I love it. This means success. Flashcards mean success. And there's a little more to it. Like I actually will write the pronunciation below the target language because in the case of like Greek, the the characters are completely alien to me. It basically looks like elven writing from Lord of the Rings. And when you're doing that, you want to be really careful. You want to be really careful that you're writing it correctly because this is so powerful. You are going to memorize things so quickly that you can make mistakes. You can memorize it wrong. And I've done that. I did that back in my Portuguese learning days. I've actually gotten to where I am now in Spanish, which is pretty darn good. I'd consider myself a solid 70% out of 100. I've gotten that far with basically no flashcards, but I'm not happy with my conjugation skills, my use of the verbs. I'm not happy with Uh, I need to go back and like more slowly work on my pronunciation, say things slowly, repeatedly, over and over in some cases where the thing just won't roll off the tongue naturally. You feel like you're chewing on a hard piece of meat or something, or maybe a stringy vegetable for all of our vegans and vegetarians out there. But I've gotten where I am without the flashcards in Spanish, but I am now going back to that. Not only by utilizing Spanish while learning Greek, but things in Spanish that confuse me, I'm making cards purely for that. And guess what? When I'm learning the thing in Spanish that is giving me a little trouble, I'm using Portuguese as the language number one. I'm using Portuguese so that basically my theory here is I want to avoid English as much as possible. It's my mother tongue. It's not doing me any good. It's not going anywhere. I'm not gonna forget it. So I plus it's freaking English. Like you're all I speak English with my clients. I do SEO. I do marketing services for local businesses. Blah blah blah. And you're just gonna speak your mother tongue. You can't get around it. So anyway, that is the basis of what I'm doing. And basically what I've done, like this is day 2 now. I went to ChatGPT. I asked it to give me a list of the 20 most common verbs in the Greek language. And I asked it to use them in a sentence. And basically, I made my flashcards from that. And then I picked one verb because you want to do a deep dive on the conjugations. First, I'm starting with present tense just because it seems obvious. Like, I like, you like, she likes, I speak, I am. Now, actually, in the past, I had the theory of beginning with the past tense because when you're telling stories and talking to people, you're going to use the past tense a lot. But basically, the present and the past tenses are going to be like my gut instinct tells me the most important. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Anyway, so, and I picked the one verb that was kind of brain bending to me, which is in this case, to like in Greek, which follows the Spanish format of being reflexive. Like I was saying, me gustan. I like books, or almost like literally, the books like me. They appeal to me. The same is true in Greek. So, and it actually ended up being ChatGPT told me this that there are two forms of like in Greek. That to say like normally, like I like him, it signifies attraction. There's another form of like that is like a friendly form of like. And I actually was like, that seems like BS. So I went and I talked to my friend real quick. It's good to have a guide, or go online and search for a tutor for $25 an hour. And during that tutoring, you have all of your questions because you're building out your system and you're the one manipulating the tools. You're not waiting for your potentially very expensive private teacher to hand feed you everything. You're already there. You're like, hey, I got these questions. I know you only have an hour, 50 minutes for me that I'm paying you right now. I want to just I want you to answer my questions first, and then after that, we can work on pronunciation and make sure that my writing is correct. And you can just hold your flashcards up and say, "Does that look good?" And they'll be like, "Yeah," or they'll be like, "No, that sentence looks nonsensical to me. I would say this," and then they can type it, and then you can either immediately write the flashcard down, or if you're using like Zoom and you have one of the AI tools that listens in, you can read the chat manuscript after the fact if you want to maximize your time. But either way, you can create all of the notes that your teacher gives you. You can find a way, be creative, use your AI tools out there to get the chat manuscript or whatever the you know the video, whatever was said, the words, everything. So basically, that is how I did it. I went off on a little tangent there, but I think it'll be helpful to some of you who are thinking, well, I don't have a friend that speaks this language that might help me 5 minutes out of the day, that cares about me enough to devote their time to you. Because that's actually like, I feel emotional now just thinking about it. Like that's a form of love. It really is. If somebody out there is guiding you and you're not paying them, that person's giving you love of some type. Maybe it's a selfish type of love where they want something out of it, but if they live far away in another country, the idea of them getting that is very remote. So for those of you out there that are like, I don't have a friend, I don't have a tutor, a guide, and I'm gonna have to like pay somebody, that's how you can maximize your time. Go and create 60 cards. All right, go to ChatGPT, say, give me the 20 most common verbs, and then use a sentence with it. And just boom. And then ask it also to tell you the pronunciation, and ask it to tell you, of course, the translation. Just tell it that you're making flashcards, and it will very quickly be very helpful. I would say about like 90% of the outputs ChatGPT has given me have been spot on. And then the other 10%, I either had an instinct about or just outright seemed weird to me. I asked. In the case of it telling me like there were two verbs to like, I was like, okay, that's true in Spanish to an extent. I can say me gusta and then say like my buddy, and people are going to be like, oh, really? They can pretty much, it depends on how you say it. But there is another form in Spanish to say like, you're friendly, I enjoy your presence, you're cool to be around, you're sympathetic, you're kind. There's another way to say that. But so that was one of the things I kind of had a doubt with. I'm like, about, because I was like, I feel like it's just taking Spanish and like translating it to Greek, and that's not correct. So I asked my Greek friend real quick, and they said, yes, that's correct. One of them is attraction, the other is friendship. So that's basically what I did. The next, after I get kind of walking, first you like take a couple steps, you start walking, you start moving forward, then you're going to start jogging, then you're going to start running. Once I get to jogging, I am going to do, this will be my challenge for me. My next challenge will be 1,000 words in 30 days memorized. Memorized. That means I can not only hear them and read them and tell you what it means, but if you say it to me in English or Spanish or whatever, I can translate it into the target language. This is more difficult. It's always more difficult. Like, for example, I wish I had one in English because if you're listening to this, you're an English speaker, but it's always easier to see the new language and be like, oh, I remember what that is, and then say it in your current language. It's much harder to see the other side of the flashcard in your current language and remember how to say it and how to write it in the new language. That's harder. So once you actually start using these cards, the first step is you start on the side that has the target language. So you start on the new language side. You say it. In so doing, you're reading it and you're listening to yourself say it. So there's 3 of the 4 things, which is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And then you're going to remember what it means in your language. And it's not going to happen at first. You can be like, I don't know what that is. You flip it over and you look, oh, yeah, it means the butterflies on my shoulder. That's a lovely sentence. So, yeah. And honestly, I used to be hypercritical about like dumb sounding sentences. But early on in the game, when you're just like learning how the mechanism of the words work, especially the conjugation of verbs, don't even worry too much about that. A little bit, yeah. Don't overly stress about, oh, I'm never going to say this. It's okay. You're learning the word basketball. You're learning through. You're learning I am throwing. You're learning all of these little pieces all at once. So just take the shotgun approach and don't worry too much about the sentences. Just begin today. Begin today. So that's my start. Over here, I also have my Spanish to Portuguese pile. And then I have my Portuguese to Greek pile. Whew. I got my work cut out for me, but it can happen. And the beauty of this is in the evening time, let's say you cut off screen time after a certain time, which we all should be doing to fix our circadian rhythm. You can be doing flashcards. You can't sleep. Oh, normally you'd pull your phone out, but now you can do flashcards. So that's it for today, folks. The first steps, basically, the goal here, your goals that you give yourself are like the first 10 verbs. Focus on verbs. Sentences utilizing verbs. Skip straight to that. Don't worry about the alphabet. Don't even worry about numbers. You want to be able to make sentences with your mouth. So 10 verbs, and then 20 verbs, and then 30 verbs, and then 50 verbs, and then 100 verbs. Focus on the verbs. Get started today. Flashcards, ChatGPT, Google Translate. Click Google Translate to listen. Listen to Google Translate, speak the word. Make sure that when you write down the card, you write down the pronunciation on the card, that it makes sense to you, because it's going to be kind of gobbledygook. It's going to be not real words written with your letter, with English letters, right? So make sure the pronunciation that you're writing down makes sense to you and sounds like what Google Translate is saying to you. Listen closely to Google Translate. Make those flashcards very carefully, because you are going to memorize stuff. You're going to get excited. You're going to see yourself advance quickly. You're going to be able to write. You're going to be able to read. You're going to be able to listen to the words. And when you hear the words, they're going to be typed out in your brain. It's incredible. It's the most amazing feeling in the world. And it's all you. So that's it for today. Just get started, guys. Get started. I will